Question 9, Part B. A particle moves along the x-axis. Initially, it is at rest at the origin. The graph shows the acceleration, a, of the particle as a function of time t for t greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 5. Part 1. Write down the time at which the velocity of the particle is a maximum. Referring to the graph of the acceleration of the particle with respect to time t, we can see from the graph that the acceleration is greater than or equal to 0 between times t equals 0 and t equals 2. So what that means is the velocity of the particle increases in that time period. So between t equals 0 and t equals 2. After which time the velocity begins to decrease because the acceleration is negative beyond time t equals 2. Therefore, the velocity is maximum at time t equals 2. Part 2. At what time during the interval t greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 5 is the particle furthest from the origin? Give brief reasons for your answer. The velocity of the particle increases from 0 to its maximum velocity from time t equals 0 to t equals 2. Now we saw this in part 1, where the maximum velocity of the particle is reached at time t equals 2. Beyond time t equals 2, the velocity then decreases from its maximum back to 0 from t equals 2 to t equals 4. And that's because the area under the curve from 0 to 2 is equal to the area under the curve from 2 to 4, except we're dealing with signed area. So this is positive area, this is negative area. So the definite integral of the acceleration curve with respect to time from t equals 0 to t equals 4 is equal to 0. And I've written that here in words. The signed area from t equals 0 to t equals 4 is 0. Therefore, the particle is furthest from the origin at time t equals 4. So another way to explain this is that the particle is accelerating. So the velocity is increasing up to this point to its maximum velocity. It's still moving forwards. From this point, it's slowing down back to 0 in terms of its velocity, but it's still moving forwards up until this point here at time t equals 4. Beyond that point, the velocity is then negative. It's actually then moving backwards. So it's furthest away from the origin, but it's then moving back toward the origin after time t equals 4.